Good morning and welcome to Your 18 Now What. Thank you for joining me on this great Tuesday. I'm Dr. Catherine Gilstein and I'm looking forward to empowering you with information about financial literacy. I will be posting new episodes every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. But before I get started, I want to point out a podcast that centers on rethinking mindfulness. It's really been helpful for me. Pay Attention provides people with an opportunity to look at what they can do each day to do a little better. So check out Dr. Steven Stunder and his podcast, Pay Attention. So let's get started. I would like to address questions received from last episode that I have not yet had a chance to respond to. So after reading through some questions and responding to a few emails, I really thought it best to revisit the topic of credit and really dive into the specifics and how important it is for you and how important it is for us to understand how our credit is determined. So I know we spoke about credit, how important it is, what is needed to get an apartment, a car, maybe even a job. The FICO score, believe it or not, was first introduced in 1989, then called Fair Isaac and Company. And the model is used by most banks and credit grantors. Actually, almost 90% of them use the FICO score. It is based on consumer credit files from the three national credit bureaus, so Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. But how is credit determined? How do the credit bureaus rate you on your credit? There are a few categories that comprise your credit. So let's dive into them. Payment history is 35% of your score. So, are you paying your credit card bills on time? Have you had any late payments? Were those payments 30 days late or were they 60 days late? All of this factors into the payment history. Amounts owed, 30% of your score. This is a big deal for credit bureaus. So, how much do you owe on your credit cards? Are you utilizing too much of your credit? Utilization rate is a big deal. So, if you have a few cards that have a total credit line together of $3,000, the question is, are you using more than 30% of that total? So, do you owe more than $900 on all of those cards together? That would be the 30% rule. Credit bureaus like to see less than 30% of your credit being used. So if you have to carry a balance and you can't pay it off each month, definitely using less than 30% of what's available is best for your credit score. What about length of credit history? This is 15% of your score. How long do you have your credit cards? The bureaus will typically use the oldest age credit opened and the newest opened, and then they'll average them for length of credit history. So the longer you have the credit, the better the score for this category. What about new credit? So opening up new stuff. This is 10% of your score. When did you open your last card? Have you opened too many cards in the last 12 months or only one or two? Typically, when you open up a new account, it doesn't fall off of your credit as a new account until after you have it for 2 years. So if you open up 3 cards within 2 years, it will show as you open 3 cards. Again, the longer you have the card, the better the score. The less credit you open within a 12-month period, the better the score. What about the credit mix? This is 10% of your score. So what type of credit do you have? Do you have all credit cards or do you have 2 credit cards? You have one car loan, maybe one department store card. The more the mix of different credit accounts, the better the weight of this category. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying open 3 different types of credit accounts, but definitely be conscious of what you are opening. So those are the categories and the weights that are put into your credit file. So now once that's determined, they give you a score. So depending on what your scores are, you may wonder what they mean. So FICO defines the following credit ranges based on FICO Score 8 credit scores, which range anywhere from 300 to 850. So anything over 800 is going to be considered exceptional. Very good, 740 to 799. Good credit score, 670 to 739. Fair credit score, 580 to 669. And poor is 579 and below. So if you look at these numbers, the difference between having a 739 credit score or a 740 credit score is the difference between a good score and a very good score. So it's worth to keep track of your score and see where your number falls, especially if you are looking to purchase a big ticket item. Let's say you're going to get a car and you want to buy the car. Well, if you know that your credit score is 752 and you fall into the very good category, you know that you're going to get a good rate. So if you go to get the car and they tell you, well, your credit's a little bit, it's not where we need it to be, and you're going to have this credit rating, you can say, no, I know what my credit score is. I know what my outstanding bills are. I know what my debt to income ratio is because I know what I spend and what I have. I think you can get a better rate from me. So definitely know your score, know who you're dealing with, and be proactive when it comes to purchasing your things. But industry-specific FICO scores, including there's also the FICO Auto Score 8 and the FICO Bank Card Score 8. These have a broader range of scores, and they go from 250 to 900. And these scores are tailored to specific types of credit, like getting a car loan or opening a bank account. If you're using Credit Karma, the score you will see is a Vantage Score 3.0. So there are different amounts of scores out there. So just for a little bit of context, Credit Karma, they are headquartered in San Francisco, California. They are a popular American multinational personal finance company. They were founded in 2007, and they have been a brand of Intuit since December of 2020. They're best known as a credit and financial platform, but a lot of people use Credit Karma to see where their credit score falls um, for their personal use. And basic credit score information is free through Credit Karma. You can pay for additional services if you want. While Vantage Score credit scores aren't used as widely as FICO scores for credit decisions, they can still give you a good idea of where your credit stands. So just remember that the Vantage Score model incorporates many of the same factors that are used when calculating your FICO score, although it may assign a different weight to certain factors. So they're still going to look at your payment history, they're still going to look at the amounts owed, they're still going to look at the length of credit history, they're still going to look at the new credit, and they are still going to look at the credit mix. So just know that going in. Also, to generate a score for you, FICO requires that you have at least one account open for 6 months or more, and at least one account reported to the credit bureaus within the previous 6 months. Vantage Score, on the other hand, might be able to provide more people with credit scores by just using 1 month of history and one account reported within the previous 24 months. So according to Vantage Score, more than 2,600 financial institutions use its scores. The scores are pretty similar to the factors that FICO evaluates, but the ranges for the scores are a little bit different. So they consider excellent from 781 to 850. So not over 800, a little bit less. A good score is from 661 to 780. A fair score is 601 to 660. A poor score, 500 to 600, and very poor, below 500. So the standards are a little bit lower. So it's just so you know and you're aware of them. So these FICO scores and Vantage scores are based on information in your credit reports. So the accuracy of the score is going to depend on several factors your report is pulled from. It's also going to depend on whether your credit reports have up-to-date information. So any errors on your credit report could affect the accuracy of your score. So make sure your information's up to date. Check your credit score once a year. Go to the 3 agencies, pull your reports, make sure the information is in there. No matter what scores you're looking at, most of them do a good job of giving you an idea of the state of your credit. So staying on top of your credit scores can help you determine where you stand and steps you can take to improve your credit health. So how do you go about doing that? How do you make sure that your credit health is good? First and foremost, educate yourself. You don't have to follow every market across the world. You don't have to read every financial article on your phone, but you should familiarize yourself with any new business developments that might affect your current and future investments. So if you're looking to invest money or buy a mutual fund or buy a stock or buy a bond, read information about it. Educate yourself. It's out there. It's free information that you can find. Second thing I recommend, pay off any debt that you have first. Because if you have debt, that's always something that's weighing on us. So if you have a credit card with a 22 to 26% interest rate, which some of them can be that high on your balances, it's going to negate any savings account you may have. So if you have a savings account getting 1% interest, especially if you don't have your money in a high yield savings account getting 4 or 5% interest, you're getting 4 or 5% interest on your money, but you're paying 22 to 26% on your credit cards. So try to pay off that debt first. Another thing I'd like to recommend, have an emergency fund of at least $1,000. In general, $1,000 that can cover maybe a flat tire, some unexpected medical expense, but try to have an emergency fund of at least $1,000. Better yet, if you can build it up to 4 to 6 months of salary, that would be great. All it takes, one illness, one layoff, one unexpected circumstance, and it could wipe you out financially. So, the same way that you contribute to a 401k or other retirement plan that you have at work, or maybe you have an IRA that you opened on your own, or a Roth IRA that you opened on your own, and we'll definitely get into those topics later on throughout the podcasts. Put away a little each paycheck to stock your emergency fund, even if it's only $25 a week or $25 every 2 weeks. Whatever you can budget to put away into that emergency fund, it's definitely going to be a security for yourself. So it's definitely going to make you feel better. If you are in a relationship, share your numbers with your partner. Finances are a leading cause of relationship stress. They can be the dissolution of those relationships. And just like all things, it's better to find out from your partner rather than someone else, like the debt collection agency, sharing news about fair or poor credit that you may have. So if you have a sticky situation where you were maybe a victim of identity theft and your credit suffered because of that, share that with your partner, especially if you're looking to buy a house or get something, together, and you're afraid that your score is going to affect that decision of what you can go forward with and what you can purchase with your partner. Let your partner know where you stand financially. That's a really important conversation to have. If you need to, meet with a financial consultant or advisor. You're definitely more than capable of responsible money management. You're definitely more than capable of pursuing your financial dreams, but sometimes you just need a little guidance. So, sitting with a financial consultant or reaching out, doing a consultation, maybe you do a consultation and that's free, as I offer on my website. Maybe you need a little bit more guidance. You want to meet with an hour. Um, Meet with a financial consultant and see how they can help you to get on track to where you want to be. Because sometimes you just need a little bit of guidance. Um, Interesting facts, and I thought I'd share this. So, staggering information here. It was just 50 years ago when women were able to get a credit card on their own without their father or husband co signing. Can you even imagine that? There's no way I can even imagine that. Today, every woman has the power to take control of their finances, but many lack the confidence to do so. Typically, women, we're conditioned to believe that in order to make financial decisions for ourselves, we need to wear a business suit, we need to work on Wall Street, we need to read Forbes magazine and the New York Times and the Financial Times every day. But it's not that complicated. As I stated earlier, by educating yourself, you can navigate your finances and your future. Close the confidence gap. Open your mind, embrace your financial narratives. Start asking questions and learn what you don't know, or learn about what you want to know about. I hope it clears up some questions I received on credit and what it entails. And I really thought it was important to keep this podcast just on credit because there were a lot of questions that came in. But be open to learning, be open to listening, ask questions. What more do you want to know? Visit my website at your18nowwhat.com. Drop me a line, send a question or a comment. Any questions received will be responded by either email or addressed on the next podcast. But remember, be invaluable for what you share, not what you know. See you next time on Your 18 Now What? And that's when I'll discuss tax season and what it means for you. Thanks again for joining me. Have a great day.